Hey everyone, it's Mike here, and I'm here to discuss the A Song of Ice and Fire series, the books, um, as well as the short stories that George R. R. Martin has written, and the excerpts of the Winds of Winter that is coming out. Um, Let me just first off introduce myself. I'm Mike. Hopefully I can do more of these. This is my first one. I've never done this or anything like this before, so bear with me if I stumble a lot or get lost. But anyways, I've read all 5 books um, twice, front to back twice. I read a ton of wiki stuff. What is it? A wiki of Ice and Fire. That's pretty beneficial. I've also read all the short stories twice. I always read them again just because I feel like I pick up a lot more on the subtle things, little things, and it's nice reading it because there really is a lot of foreshadowing, in the prophecies and the visions and the dreams, and those things are really they they get my attention, and it's pretty cool because I think those are the things that you like to discuss with people. What do you think is going to happen? Um, and I think everyone's kind of agreed at this point that it's pretty much impossible to predict, what's going to happen after any given situation. Like the immediate, um, event that occurs after something, what's going to happen then? Like it's basically impossible. But I think with the prophecies and the different visions and dreams that people have in the story, the characters have, you can kind of make an educated guess of who's gonna die, what's gonna happen, what are they really trying to do, what is the plan, what is this culminating to, um, you know. So that's that. Yeah. So I've read all those books and um, I really enjoyed them, and also I have to recommend get the Ice Dragon book. Um, one of the short stories that he read that I think is actually classified as a children's book, but it's in the Song of Ice and Fire. It's in that world. It's just who knows when the time set is, but it's a long, long time ago. I think relative to the story of the Song of Ice and Fire, but it is in the same world. So, and there's ice dragons in it. Obviously, the title is Ice Dragon. So I just don't understand why it's considered a children's book. There's pretty sure there's murder and rape in it. But it's considered a children's book. I read it anyways, and it was good. It was awesome. It was any other any one of his other stories that are in the Song of Ice and Fire. So if you haven't got that, you definitely got to give that a shot. Um, but that kind of leads me into what Old Nan says. Um, Old Nan tells Bran of the White Walkers, and she tells him a lot of different things, and everything that she said turns out to be true. And at one point, she does mention ice dragon. She mentions ice spiders, like all these like ice demons that are from north of the Wall in the lands of always winter. And reading the Ice Dragon short story made me think, there's got to be an ice dragon in the lands of always winter, where the Night's King and the leader of the White Walkers, does he have a ice dragon that he can fly? And I think that he does, from what I've read. So I just haven't heard many people talk about that yet. So I thought I'd bring that up. Um, so that's that. So back to the main thing of what I want to talk about, just the book in general for um, the background of A Song of Ice and Fire. So A Song of Ice and Fire, or if you're watching the show, it's Game of Thrones, but A Song of Ice and Fire is it's got ice and it's got fire. It's very duality. There's that theme of duality is just it's so frequent in the books, and you got Melisandre, the Lord of Light, and then you have the stranger, who's the other one of the seven gods. Well, that's the stranger. Then there's the other god of the Lord of Light. She mentions there's two gods. There's the the light, and then the one that you can't name. Like, it doesn't have a name. It's just like, death or whatever. But yeah, and then there's the duality theme of, like, fire and ice. The Targaryens are like fire. They have the dragons, and then there's the ice. You have Starks that are, king of the North, and, it's always cold there. And then you have north of the wall, the ice, and, the White Walkers, obviously. But I think, it's pretty obvious of what the Song of Ice and Fire is. And I think that it kind of relates to Jon Snow, and I think that's what George Martin did, in general to the book, is that he made it. There's so many good characters. It's kind of even hard to tell who is the main character of the story. And I think that A Song of Ice and Fire suggests that it's actually Jon Snow. If you haven't done too much, gone too much into it, you probably shouldn't be watching this. But Jon Snow, the son of Rhaegar and Lyanna Stark. I think that's pretty obvious that the Song of Ice and Fire is them. They are ice and fire conjoined, and they had a child, and that is Jon Snow. So I think he is the Song of Ice and Fire, or maybe it's just Lyanna and Rhaegar. But either way, it's their child, and so yeah, I think he is the main character. And last we hear of Jon Snow, he is actually was stabbed a bunch of times north of the wall, and it's made to seem like he's dead, but that didn't really explicitly say that he's dead. So pretty much assuming that he's not dead. I don't see that really happening. There's I don't think there's any chance of him actually being dead. I think that what's going to happen is that he is going to warg into Ghost until he is revived. And I think that that's pretty obvious. And I'm not sure what he's going to do as Ghost. Like I said, it's really hard to predict these, these events and what they're going to do. I just think that you just got to take it from what it is. And I think he's going to be in Ghost. I don't know exactly what he's going to do. Is he going to go see Bran? Is he going to go, does he meet up with Bran's wolf? Or does he go see Arya in the south? Or what happens as Ghost? No idea. But I think it's, it makes sense for him to be in Ghost. He's dead. He's basically in a coma or whatever, dead. And his ghost goes into Ghost. It just makes sense. So yeah, and how is he going to get revived? A lot of people I saw on the internet are thinking, Melisandre's going to revive him, and that kind of doesn't make sense to me, because she doesn't have those powers to revive people. She is part of the Lord of Light, but all of her powers have been different, than reviving somebody. She's been able to cast, basically shadow demons, and also the ability to change the appearance of something. She's able to switch the identity of Mance Rayder and his, I forget what his name, Skull, who's Bones, or I forget his name, but she's able to do that. She's able to make Stannis' sword, glimmer with light, but it doesn't radiate any heat, so it's not a real light bringer. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But so she's able to manipulate the appearance of things, but no, she's not able to revive anybody. So I don't see that happening. I think Jon being revived, the only person that that we've been seen to actually revive somebody was Thoros of Myr, who was also the Lord of Light, but he was actually able to revive Lord Beric Dondarrion many times. And I think that if that is a potential way, but what happened to Lord Beric Dondarrion most recently was that he passed that life, that rejuvenating life that Lord Thoros of Myr gave him. He passed that on to Catelyn Stark, and now she's Lady Stoneheart. She's revived, and so it would, that'd be one way, is that she would have to, find John at some point and pass that life blood, or the kiss of life, whatever you want to call it, from her to John. But you know that Caitlin Stark kind of resents John because she thinks that he is bastard, her husband's bastard son. So she kind of resents him. So I think that in order for her to do that, she would have to make amends with John, and she would have to find out who he really is. That he really isn't a bastard child. He really is Lyanna and Rhaegar's son. So how that happens, I mean, I have no idea. I don't know how that happens. Maybe Bran, is able to, if John meets up with a wolf and goes north of the wall to see Bran has something to tells him, maybe tells him through a weirwood. Who knows? I think it's impossible to predict. Maybe Caitlin finds out somehow. I just don't know. But I think that if he does get revived, then that could be a potential way of it happening. The second way would be because he's north of the wall and you die, they throw you in fire so that you don't revive and become a White Walker. So them throwing him into the fire, he could be reborn into Azor Ahai or whatever, and also he's got the Targaryen blood. So Targaryen blood, you can't be burnt. It's kind of like Dany's situation when she is with Khal Drogo, and she puts him in the fire with Miriam Mazdor, and she walks into the fire, and she's kind of reborn. The dragons hatch, and she kind of is reborn in the mother of dragons. It could be the same idea and same concept. Him getting thrown into the fire and then being reborn. The only difference is that he's got a bunch of stab wounds. And she didn't. So I don't know how that really explains it, but yeah, potentially maybe something like that could happen. So yeah, talking about being reborn into brings me into the Azor Ahai, excuse me, like prophecy and the whole legend, the tale of Azor Ahai, and I have it written down. So let's just go over that real quick. Azor Ahai was a legendary hero who lived, thousands of years ago, and he basically rose up and defeated the others, wielding a sword called Lightbringer. And Melisandre talks about, being, she talks about Azor Ahai all the time. She claims that Stannis is Azor Ahai. She sees it in the fires all the time or whatever. And so recently she says, I pray for a glimpse of Azor Ahai, and R'hllor only shows me snow with a capital S. So it's pretty much obvious that she's seeing snow as Azor Ahai. So he could be Azor Ahai, and we're going to be reborn. And I think that Azor Ahai prophecy has been matched up with many people. Like, I saw something on the Wikipedia the other day that Davos Seaworth, could potentially be Azor Ahai, and Brienne, she also matches up, especially her sword matches with Lightbringer, which we'll talk about. So the prophecy goes: when the red star bleeds and the darkness gathers, Azor Ahai shall be reborn against smoke and salt to wake dragons out of stone. Be born again amidst salt and smoke. So when Jon was stabbed, it specifically states, Bowen Marsh, who stabs him, there's tears rolling down his face. He felt bad doing it, but he felt like, he says for the watch. He felt like he was doing his job. He didn't want a brother to desert. It's the rules. You can't desert once you're taking your vows. You're at the wall for life. So he says for the watch. He's crying. He stabs, and then it says that there's smoke, rising from the stab wounds, because it's so cold at that time. You see the smoke rising. So yeah, Jon fits the Azor Ahai description completely. The only problem is Lightbringer. Where is his sword that he wields? He pulls out of the fire, and I'll talk about the sword. Lightbringer is a sword of Azor Ahai, a legendary hero who was prophesied to fight the Great Others. Lightbringer is thought to be a sword made of living fire. It is also known as the Red Sword of Heroes. So the Great Other is the Night's King, and I think the more I think about it is that if he dies, all of them die, because he's like, it's almost like mind control. Like the Night's King, once he converts them to an other, it's just like another one of himself. It's just he's able to control all of them, and he's like super evil and wants to destroy everything. And he's been around for thousands of years, building and building his armor, or his army, and taking Craster's children as babies and raising them and converting them. You saw in the most recent episode. So yeah, so the story of Lightbringer goes, Azor Ahai, the legend, he labored 30 days and 30 nights until he was making a sword, and he took him 30 days and 30 nights, and he went to temper it in water, and the sword broke. So he started over. It took 50 days and 50 nights, tempered it captured a lion, and drove the sword into the lion's heart. Still, it shattered again. So the third one is, the third time he did it, it was 100 days and 100 nights. Finally, he finishes the sword, and he tempers it in his one true love, in her heart. He drives it through her heart and kills her. But that was a sacrifice that was necessary to create Lightbringer. Like it worked, and it became Lightbringer, and he was able to defeat the others. So that sacrifice, actually, it was something that worked. Yeah, about Lightbringer. Back to Lightbringer. What does this sword Lightbringer match with? We know it matches specifically with Oathkeeper, which is Brienne's sword that was given to her by Jaime. And why does it match? Okay, so the sword was originally Ned Stark's sword, and it was named Ice. Water. It was tempered in water first, ice, and then it was broken down and reforged into two swords, one of them being Oathkeeper, and it was reforged by the Lannisters, Lion. That was the second part of the legend of Lightbringer, is that it was reforged a second time in a lion's heart, and so the only thing that's missing is the third thing is to kill. You have to kill your one true love, and then it becomes Lightbringer. And so Oathkeeper matches that description so far. The only thing it needs to do is kill its one true love. And I think that the books and the shows have done a good job of making it seem that Brienne's fallen in love with Jaime. She ends up, there's time spent together. They bonded, and she's like in love with them. And the last we hear of her is that she is captured by Lady Stoneheart and the Brave Companions, and she's about to be hung. And Catelyn gives her an ultimatum and says, "You either kill Jaime Lannister, find him and kill him, or we kill you." And so she's about to get hung, and she's like, "No, I can't do it. Like, I love him," or whatever. And she's about to get hung, but then for some reason lives. She says something to make it live, and I think what she does is she accepts it and says, "Okay, like I'll kill him." And so last we hear, she's going to find Jaime, and I think that if she does kill him, then it matches the description. She kills him with Oathkeeper, and then that fulfills the destiny of Lightbringer. So, is she Azor Ahai? Was she born of salt and smoke? She was born in the Sapphire Isles, which is, in the sea, in the middle of the sea. It's like a little island, or like off the coast or something. So, yeah, she's born in the sea, so that's salt. And smoke, it's right under Dragonstone, which is like an active volcano, So, yeah, was she born as Miss Salt and Smoke? She was. So, I think there, that she matches the description. And, that's why it makes me think like there's a lot of potential things that it could be. Maybe they are all. I think they are. I think there's multiple Azor Ahais. I think that, the legend is, it says there's only one, or, it just says there's a hero, but it could be, the same tale that was told from different people, and it ended up over the years just becoming one person. But, that brings me to the other sword. Who's got the other sword right now? And I think, I'm not even sure who does have it, but I would assume it'd be Jaime, because I'm pretty sure the other sword was given to Joffrey, but Joffrey's dead now. Jaime's been training with his left hand to fight, and he now he's pretty legit and he can fight. So I would assume that he would have this other sword, or I'm not sure exactly where that sword is, but the other sword obviously fits the profile too. Does he have the sword? Does he kill Cersei with it? Maybe I really don't know. But I do know that there was a dream that Jaime had, and in the dream he's walking down into this like dark cave type thing, and he sees Rhaegar and all these, and they're all White Walkers. They're all dead, and they're all coming to him, like just walking towards him slowly, and he sees Brienne, there. She's next to him, and you can tell that he kind of loves her too at this point, or at least, is really affectionate towards her as like, almost like a family member. Like, she means something to him, and her sword is on fire, and it talks about the heat, and it's on fire. It's like a silvery blue flame. So that's a vision that he had, a dream, and she's there to protect him, and his sword lights on fire too, and they're ready to fight or whatever. And then towards the end of the dream, his sword dies out, the flame dies, and hers doesn't, and then that's basically the end of the vision. But so yeah, if there's two swords and he has his other sword, then they could both very well be Azor Ahai, or at least two, depictions of the same story. So like elsewhere, like John, could be is Azor Ahai, same thing. There's just multiple ones. That's what I think is going to happen, is that there's just going to be all these heroes everywhere, and they're all going to, help in the slaying of the others. And I think that's what the story is culminating to is that epic battle towards the end, where it's just everyone versus the others. And I think the show, one of these last episodes kind of spoiled it, because we didn't really know the Night's King was alive. We thought the Night's King was dead. That was as far as we knew. But one of these episodes, they show the Night's King convert this little baby, puts his hand on his head and converts him, the eyes turn blue or whatever. And on the HBO show, like on the HBO like website, it said it was the Night's King, and then it deleted that comment. So I thought that was funny that they kind of like spoiled that a little bit. That okay, so the Night's King is still alive, clearly. Yeah. So I mentioned the Great Other and how that is the Night's King, but on the wiki it says specifically that is considered the enemy of R'hllor, which is the Lord of Light. And I still believe that it is the Night's King, and I think that Cold Hands is the Night's King as well. But it doesn't matter because he's not in the show Cold Hands, so I think that it's kind of insignificant. What I do think is important is that the Night's King is still alive, and um, he is ruling over the kingdom in the lands of always winter, and uh, yeah, and so what is he doing? He brought, you know, Cold Hands brought Bran to Bloodraven. I think that what he's doing is he's trying to do something, whether it's to bring the wall down or he's trying to manipulate and use Bran at some point. And I think I think it's the original Bran the Builder. It says 8,000 years ago. That matches up with the time frame. So Bran the Builder is the Night's King. And the story goes of the Night's King that he was seduced by this woman, this White Walker who's a woman. We've never seen one of those before. This is the first we hear about it, is that she seduced him, and then when they consummated, he gave his soul to her and became like this super evil person, and he was the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. He was the 13th commander, and he brought her to the Night's Watch, and they like did horrible things, and eventually they thought that he was killed, but the show kind of spoils that he's still alive. So so the Great Other, yeah, like Melisandre has these like visions and stuff regarding him, and she says that this also suggests that Bran is it says specifically a champion of the Great Other, the Night's King, the ultimate evil in the story, who is Bran Stark. And I think he's Bran Stark because he tells Bran, Cold Hands tells Bran, he's like, they used to call me Bran a long time ago, like I died a long time ago or something. And so that's why I think it was. But anyways, back to Melisandre. She sees a wooden face, corpse white, 1,000 red eyes, and a boy's wolf's head beside him. She thinks to herself that they must be the Great Other's champions, as King Stannis is hers. Maybe they're fighting against, but it doesn't. I don't understand why they would be fighting against if Cold Hands brought them to it, and I think that Cold Hands is the Night's King. So yeah, I think that it's kind of sucks because I really like Bran, and that he's trying to, this whole time he's been trying to do something good. He's like, I think I got, I know I have to do this to fulfill my destiny. I have to go north of the wall and save everybody. But I think he's walking into actually something that's gonna be pretty bad, and I don't know what exactly it is. Maybe it's tearing down the wall or something like that. I'm not sure, but. So yeah, Melisandre sees a wooden face, corpse white. Wooden face meaning, three-eyed Raven is entangled in a tree. Corpse white, he's been there for 1,000 years. 1,000 red eyes and one, and it just says 1,000 red eyes. But the story of Bloodraven is that everyone, and this side is going back to the Tales of Dunk and Egg. Bloodraven is a pretty big character, and everyone says that he has 1,000 eyes and one, because he's missing one eye, so he has that one, but he has 1,000 other eyes, and those are his ravens that he can warg through and just see through all the time. So he knows everything. He has a lot of knowledge. And so the second part is a boy with a wolf's head beside him. She thinks to herself that they must be the Great Other's champion. So a boy with a wolf's head beside him is clearly Bran. So if it is the Great Other's champion, what are they doing? I don't know. I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts. But yeah, that's my opinion on that. Hey, it just occurred to me that talking about Bran and what is he doing? What is Cold Hands using him for? And I mentioned tear down the wall, and yeah, that could be potentially be possible, but I really don't know how he would do that. Can they? There's werewoods under there. I know that he can speak through the werewoods, but can he? break them, basically defortify a wall just by being able to speak through werewolves. I don't know. I don't think that. And then it occurred to me that Bloodraven tells Bran, he will one day fly. You will one day fly. And also in the TV show, I feel like they kind of spoiled it a little bit. If you watch the end of one of these episodes, these recent episodes of this season, there's like a commentary, and it's about when Bran has a vision, and in the show, there's a vision. It's going through all of his visions, and one of the glimpses is a dragon flying through the air, and that's weird because that's not a normal vision for if you're unless you're part of that, unless you've been there, done that. So he has all these visions through werewoods, which is pretty obvious. He can see through werewoods, but okay, so he's telling him he can fly. Does that mean he can fly through a raven or an actual dragon? And because of that little glimpse, and they were doing the commentary, and one of the producers said, "We don't know," and he was kind of giggling about it. He's like, "We don't know if this is these visions are the future, the past," and he kind of giggled, when he said it. The future, oh, is he going to be eventually in a dragon? I think he definitely will warg a dragon, so maybe that's what happens. And, I was mentioning the ice dragon, maybe what happens is that, and this is kind of far-fetched, but who knows, like I said, who knows what's going to happen. I think it'd be pretty cool, is, he wargs a dragon to bring the dragon north of the wall, trying to convince, either that Jon's going to get it, or, the Night's King convinces him to bring a dragon there, and then the Night's King is able to convert the dragon into an ice dragon. And that he has his mind control over. So I think that would be pretty cool. Either way, I definitely think that Bran is being used at this point. He's being used by the Night's King. And I think, the final battle between the Night's King is going to be Night's King, versus probably Jon Snow as Azor Ahai. Yeah.